There's a song by Huey Lewis and the News, and it opens, "Sometimes I curse the dark and I pray for the light. Sometimes the light's no consolation." When I was 17 years old in 1979, I was a high school dropout working at a movie theater near UCLA. And one day this girl named Robin walked in. She was smart and beautiful and funny. And the first time our hands brushed together when we scooped popcorn on a manic weekend's rush and our eyes met, electricity went between us. We started hanging out constantly. When we were together, there was excitement and there was joy in me. When we were apart, I felt her absence deep in my stomach. We went to parties. We went to the beach. She showed me strange, exotic, foreign lands that I had no idea I could access, like UCLA. And we had sex together, which for a 17-year-old guy ain't so bad. But I realized after a year and a half with Rob that now I was an 18-year-old high school dropout. And so my solution to that was joining the Navy. And I was at sea for the next 4 years. And back then, you didn't have email nor satellite phones. And so the only way that I had for staying in touch with people back home was through mail. And mail would come on the ship once or twice, maybe a month. And I would watch the stack of mail get smaller and smaller as it was sorted. And I would pray that one of those letters was for me, not from my grandpa, but from her. After 4 years at sea, I was lucky enough, even though I was still in the Navy, to get stationed in LA. And so Robin and I were no longer oceans apart, nor continents apart. We were in the same apartment, and we were in the same bed. And frankly, I felt like I was on a merry-go-round, and I had reached out and grabbed that brass ring. But Robin, while I was at sea, had graduated from UCLA, and so she decided that she was going to go in the Air Force to officer candidate school in Texas. And I knew after being away for 4 years that her going away meant she was going away. And my merry-go-round came crashing to a halt. So you can imagine my surprise and my joy when one day there was a knock on the door, and Robin, unannounced, was on the other side. And it wasn't until we got to the beach that she told me that they'd found a lump in her breast. And because she was ill and hadn't yet completed officer candidate school, the Air Force had thrown her out. So Rob moved back to LA and moved back into the apartment that we shared. And for the next 4 years, we went to Hawaii, we went scuba diving, and her condition worsened. I would catch her staring at herself in the mirror for hours, her face and her eyes inches from the glass. I stopped sleeping. And one night, as she lay awake in bed, moaning in pain in the middle of the night, I was so fucking tired, I just needed a night's sleep. And I grabbed a pillow and I started heading towards her. And I moved down and I put my hand under her head. And I saw her face writhing in pain. And I lifted her head and I put the pillow under her and held her for another long, sleepless night. On April 19th, 1989, Robin passed away, surrounded by her family and friends. Sometimes in my bed at night, I curse the dark and I pray for the light. sometimes the light is no consolation. Over time, the pain dulled. I met a woman, a beautiful woman. We got married. We had a wonderful, beautiful daughter. But one night, I had this vivid dream that Rob was allowed to come back, only for a couple of days. And this dream was so real that although my wife was sleeping behind me, I raised myself on my elbow and I whispered into the darkness, "Are you here?" fully expecting a brush of her fingertips on my cheek. I laid my head back down and I realized the date was April 19th, 2005. It's been 27 years since Robin died, and yet we still live together. Thank you.